Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another early edition of Live Chat with James, coming to you from ProPix TV in Vancouver, British Columbia. Today, we're going to take a look at the multi-billion-dollar economic reality of video games and esports, how that is creating a massive industry within itself and in the bigger entertainment stream. Why are so many major corporations and sporting companies getting into the world of esports and video gaming? Well, we're going to take a look at that and much more when it comes to the center of the entertainment universe and video games, how their growth has expanded and created a massive multi-billion dollar not only industry in the gaming but also in advertising revenue and in-game purchases. So without further ado, let's move on to the program today. Again, welcome. It's James Kuzno with ProPix TV. Keep in mind that throughout the episode, you are more than welcome to call in on the phone lines and give your opinion. The same number also works on WhatsApp. So if you are interested in adding to the conversation, by all means, dial 1-368-997-6741. Once again, that phone number is 1-368-997-6741. And you can join the conversation here as we explore the video game industry and esports, how they have grown and will continue to grow. Now, as we take a look here, of course, we know that there is a massive industry and it has only gotten bigger for those of us who remember going back to the Nintendo 64 or even the Atari systems. The video games of today are a massive leap in terms of what we used to enjoy. Now, the video game industry has decisively shed its legacy as a niche hobby, and it has now become the undisputed titan of the global entertainment landscape. It's no longer just an emerging sector, but a mature, complex, and powerful economic juggernaut, generating annual revenues consistently surpassing the global film and music industries combined. Now, this transformation signals a fundamental shift in the consumer behavior around technological innovation and economic value creation, positioning interactive entertainment at the very center of the 21st century digital economy. Now, the lingering stereotype of a teenage gamer in the basement is a relic of a bygone era, starkly contrasted by the modern reality of the industry's consumer base and economic footprint. The average video game player in the United States is now actually between 35 years and 44 years old, an adult demographic more likely to be managing a mortgage than asking for an allowance. This demographic shift is mirrored by the industry's profound economic impact, which extends into every U.S. state. They are creating hundreds of thousands of high-paying jobs, contributing tens of billions of dollars to the national GDP, and serving as a critical engine for technological advancements that spill over into sectors as diverse as medicine and military simulation. Now, this report that we are doing today, it deconstructs the intricate economic machinery that powers this global phenomenon. It will provide a comprehensive analysis into the industry's immense scale. We'll also be dissecting the value chain from the high-stakes costs of creation to the revolutionary economics of digital distribution. Now, the analysis will then explore the powerful symbiotic relationship between the video game and film industries, examining how creative clusters in regions like British Columbia generate significant mutuality and reinforcing economic benefits. Now, subsequently, the report will offer a deep dive into the esports ecosystem, revealing it not merely as a form of competition, but as a sophisticated marketing flywheel that drives the player engagement and direct revenue for the world's largest game manufacturers and franchises. Finally, it will uncover the strategic rationale behind the growing trend of traditional sports and entertainment corporations investing heavily in esports, a move aimed at capturing the next generation of fans and mastering the future of digital engagement. There is so much to talk about, and that we will take a look at. First, we're going to start with the global economic engine of interactive entertainment and how that is flourishing. Now, let's take a look at that, folks. Let's move forward. And to really comprehend the video game industry's influence, one must first grasp the sheer scale. Now, this section will provide a macroeconomic overview, qualifying and quantifying the global market and its key segments before drilling down into the specific economic contributions within the United States and deconstructing the financial architecture of its value chain. Now, although we will be talking a lot about American and US numbers, this definitely can be brought to scale in other environments and economies as well, as especially here in Canada, where we have a massive video game creation and studio industry that overlaps at times with the massive Hollywood North film industry as well here. Now, when we take a look at the size of the behemoth, a global market perspective here, let's look at that first. And estimates for the global video game market size in 2024 vary significantly, a fact that in itself speaks to the industry's vast and multifaceted nature. Projections range from a conservative $187.7 billion by market analysis firm Newzoo to a more expansive and larger 298.98 billion from Grandview Research and an even larger $455.27 billion call from Bank MyCell. Now, these are various industry market firms. So again, they are looking at the market analysis and maybe taking in different parts of the industry that the other may not, and vice versa. Now, the variance is not an indication of inaccuracy, but rather a reflection of differing methodologies and the inclusion of a sprawling ecosystem of related economic activities. And again, more conservative estimates often focus narrowly on software sales, while broader valuations incorporate revenue from dedicated gaming hardware like consoles and PCs, peripherals, and so forth, and the colossal market for in-game advertising, which alone was projected to be $109.6 billion market segment in 2024. Now, this complexity, of course, highlights that the industry's true economic footprint is far larger than any single software sales figure can capture. The core software market acts as a gravitational center for a constellation of dependent and synergistic industries. It drives demand for high performance hardware, including graphics processing units and central processing units. Of course, that fuels the growth of massive digital infrastructure of servers and cloud gaming services. It also supports a burgeoning content and creator economy on platforms like Twitch and YouTube. Now, policymakers and investors must look beyond the simple software revenue to grasp the full systemic economic impact. Now, as we look at that, and despite the variance in absolute numbers, all sources point to a consistent and powerful growth trajectory. The market is projected to grow at a compound annual growth rate, or CAGR, of 12.2% between 2025 and 2030. Potentially, this could exceed $600 billion in annual revenue by the end of the decade. This expansion is fueled by a continually growing global player base, which was anticipated to reach 3.4 billion people in 2024 and is forecast to climb to nearly 3.8 billion by 2027. A crucial aspect of this market is, of course, the segmentation by device. Now, the mobile gaming segment is the undisputed leader, accounting for nearly half of all global revenue, a share larger than the console and PC markets combined. This dominance signals a profound shift in consumer behavior and monetization strategies, moving away from the traditional player and premium priced one time purchase model of consoles and PC games towards free to play experiences supported by in app purchases and microtransactions. Now, geographically, this market is concentrated within the United States and China, together accounting for nearly half of all consumer spending on games, establishing them as two dominant global powerhouses. Now, if we take a quick peek here at some of the numbers here, let's take a look at the global video game market and compare that a bit. Now, with Newzoo, they again said 187.7 billion, and they focused primarily on software sales from across PC, consoles, and mobile. Now, their CAGR is rated at 3.1% between 2022 and 2027. Grandview Research, meanwhile, estimated it to be $298.98 billion, like we've already discussed, and that included software and potentially some hardware. Excuse me, sorry about that, folks. Potentially some software and ancillary services. So again, their CAGR is estimated between 2025 to 2030 at a 12.2% growth rate. Now, Bank My Cell came in at the highest rating at $455.27 billion, but they also were in the broadest scope, explicitly including segments like in-game advertising revenue, which added quite substantially. And they project that it'll reach 625.64 billion in 2028. So it gives you a bit of an idea as to the various levels of estimates and evaluations that come forward. Now, in terms of the US powerhouse, this is looking at the economic impact here, or in the US. Now, within this global landscape, the United States stands out not only as one of the largest consumer markets, but also a hub of development and a significant contributor to its national economy. According to details, the detailed 2024 Economic Impact Report from the Entertainment Software Association, also known as the ESA, the U.S. video game industry created over $101 billion in total economic output in 2023. It directly contributed to nearly $66 billion to the U.S. gross domestic product, or GDP, and supported a workforce of over 350,000 American jobs. Now, the industry functions as a potent job creation engine. It directly employs 104,080 people in roles spanning from software development, hardware engineering, retail, and support services. However, of course, its impact extends far beyond this direct employment. The industry boasts a powerful national employment multiplier of 3.36, meaning that for every single direct job within a game industry or a game company, an additional 2.36 jobs are supported by the wider U.S. economy through supplier contracts and the induced spending of industry employees. Now, crucially, these are high value, high skilled jobs that provide family sustaining incomes. The average compensation for a worker directly employed in the U.S. video game industry is an impressive $168,600 per year. Now, this figure is even higher with the core software development sector, which the average compensation reaches about $197,800 annually, far exceeding the national average and positioning the industry as a vital contributor to high-tech labor markets. Now, while the industry has a presence in all 50 states, its economic activity is highly concentrated in a few key creative and technological hubs. Now, of course, California is the undisputed epicenter, accounting for 44,000 direct jobs, or 42% of the national total. Together with Washington, Texas, New York, and Florida, these five states represent approximately 72% of the industry's total employment, creating dense ecosystems of talent, technology, and capital that drive innovation. Now, as we look at that, we know that it is not the only way that it has an impact and growth and generating revenue and contributing to the GDP. So let's move forward with that and look at the engine of interactive entertainment. Now, the economic journey of a video game from an initial concept to a consumer screen is a complex process involving massive upfront investment, intricate manufacturing, and of course, distribution logistics, and a revolutionary shift in how content is monetized. The cost of creation varies, of course, and that can vary dramatically depending on the scale of the project. For a top tier AAA title, the industry's equivalent of a Hollywood blockbuster, the development budgets can range from $50 million to over $300 million to create that game. Now, marketing costs, such as a release, can easily add another 100 million if you're looking at the top scale $300 million production budget for the video game. Now, that of course brings the total investment to a level compared with major motion pictures. In contrast, of course, we can look at various other things, but in specifically, let's take a look at this area of the growth and the numbers. For all studio sizes, the single biggest operational cost is employee salaries, of course. Now, of course, when we talk about that, we can also look at, independent games, and they're created by smaller teams and operate, of course, on much leaner budgets. Those ones there will typically range from 10,000 to over $1 million, and that's considered a smaller, leaner budget. For studios of all sizes, as I said, the biggest cost is salaries. Now, these costs can uh, are highly dependent on geography. A senior game developer in the United States can command a salary of $150,000, while a developer with similar experience in Eastern Europe might only earn about $78,000. Now, that is a disparity that has fueled a globalized development and outsourcing market. Other significant expenses include office rent, licensing fees for essential software like game engines, and marketing. Now, this high risk, high investment cost structure, particularly for AAA games, has fundamentally shaped the industry's business models, pushing publishers towards strategies like games as a service, downloadable content or DLCs, and in game microtransactions to create long term revenue streams that de risk the massive initial financial outlay. Now, sorry, folks, I'm just going to open up our chat room here because I forgot to do that so you can interact with us. Again, if you want to send a comment through on the chat, by all means, feel free to do that on any of the platforms you're watching on. And again, the phone lines are open if you want to call in and talk about the video game industry. The phone number is 1-368-997-6741. Feel free to call in and voice your thoughts on the industry or just share some of your favorite games and whatnot with us. By all means, you're more than welcome to do so. Now, as we continue here, the most profound economic shift in the industry's history. Now, that has been the transition from physical manufacturing to digital distribution. Today, digital sales overwhelmingly dominate the market. As of 2023, an estimated 95% of all video games were purchased digitally, with digital downloads accounting for $175.8 billion in revenue compared to just $8.5 billion for physical copies. Now, this revolution is driven by simple economics, of course. Superior profit margins, big issue for any business. Now, a publisher might retain a gross margin of around 55% from a physical retail sales after accounting for manufacturing, packaging, global shipping, warehousing, and of course the retailer's cut. A digital sale, by contrast, can yield a margin of approximately 70% by eliminating nearly all of those costs. However, this shift has also fundamentally altered the industry's power dynamics. The gatekeepers of the past, the brick and mortar retailers who controlled limited shelf space, have been replaced by a new and arguably more powerful set of digital platform holders. Now, if you look at Valve, which is Stream, and Sony, of course, the Sony PlayStation Store, Microsoft has their Xbox Games Store, Apple has the App Store, and Google has the Play Store, where digital distribution has democratized access for any and or sorry for most retailers or distributors. Sorry. Now, as these smaller developers, it has come at a cost of significant platform tax. These digital storefronts typically charge a 30% commission on all revenue generated through their platforms. This fee is not merely for payment processing, it is the price of admission to a massive built in audience of millions of consumers, a service that provides invaluable discovery and marketing reach. Again, that is where they hold the industry hostage, is by this vast market share that these major platforms have. Now, the dynamic has created a new platform based economy where financial viability is often contingent upon the policies, fees, and promotional algorithms of these tech giants. Now, the 30% cut has become a central point of tension, prompting larger publishers to build their own direct to consumer digital stores and leverage influencers to drive sales there, thereby bypassing these platform fees. The ongoing power struggle has been between content creators and platform holders is set to define the industry's financial landscape for the foreseeable future. This, of course, again, is a big question in many of the online distribution industries, whether that is ebook platforms and book sales, through to music catalogs and music distribution through these other programs as well. So again, it's not just isolated to the concerns of the film industry, or sorry, of the video game industry. Now, let's take a look here, folks, at another aspect, and of course, that being Hollywood's new playground, the convergence of video games and film. It is a big synergistic move between all platforms and motion picture studios. Now, the lines between interactive entertainment and traditional linear media are rapidly dissolving, creating a powerful economic feedback loop. Of course, particularly in regions that have cultivated strong co-located video game and film industries. That again is, a very good instance of that, or example of that, is British Columbia, and we'll get into that in just a moment. The convergence is not merely a creative trend, but a calculated economic strategy that generates regional booms, enhances the value of intellectual property, and forges a new integrated entertainment ecosystem. Now, these creative clusters and the regional economic booms, of course, as I said, the Canadian province of British Columbia, particularly Metro Vancouver, serves as a prime case study for the economic benefits of a synergistic creative cluster. Now, BC has established itself as a world class premier global hub for creative technology, home to over 160 video game studios and world leading visual effects and animation sectors. This interactive media powerhouse exists alongside a massive film and television production industry that contributed $3.8 billion to the provincial economy and supported about 71,000 jobs in 2018 alone. And we can look at closer numbers, but we had a lot of variance between pandemics and strikes and all of that. So we're just going with that number for now. Again, we're looking at record numbers coming up in the next few years, as well as both of those industries dominate our economy in British Columbia to some extent. Now, the economic alchemy of the region lies in its shared ecosystem of talent, technology. Decades of investment in the film industry created a deep reservoir of highly skilled artists and technicians specializing in areas like 3D modeling, as well as animation, sound design, and motion capture. This pre existing infrastructure and talent pool became a critical asset for the burgeoning video game industry, which could tap into a world class expertise without having to build it from scratch. This has created a virtuous cycle, and a major film production brings investment and hones local talent, which in turn attracts major game studio, which then perhaps develops new techniques and tools that can be used in the film industry. So it's very much a big loop there. But again, there are struggles between the film industry unions and the video game industry studios as well. So that's something that's really a big dynamic that's moving forward, hopefully in positive ways for those unions and those workers. Now, the dynamic creates a more resilient and flexible regional labor market. A VFX artist, for example, can move between a blockbuster film project and a AAA video game, ensuring that talent remains in the region even if one sector experiences a temporary downturn. Excuse me, such as I just referred to, and that was the film industry strike in 2023. Now, this economic stickness, of course, makes the hub less vulnerable to the global production shifts and provides companies with access to stable, world class workforces. For game developers, this provides a form of talent arbitrage. Yes, that allows them to hire professionals seasoned on high budget films, thereby elevating the quality and cinematic fidelity of their games. Let's move ourselves down there so you can see some of the graphics. Yes, of course. There we go. So, again, as we continue on here, this symbiotic relationship is actively nurtured by government policy. The BC government has implemented substantial and permanent tax incentives, and most notably the Interactive Digital Media Tax Credit, or IDMTC, which directly offsets the significant labor costs associated with game development. With this said, of course, these financial incentives are a strategic tool designed to lower cost of retaining this flexible, high-value workforce. This is making the region a magnet for investment from global entertainment giants like EA Sports and Electronic Arts, Nintendo, Microsoft, Disney, among many others. This public investment is further supported by a robust educational pipeline from institutions like the Vancouver Film School and the University of British Columbia, which continually supply the ecosystem with fresh, well trained talent. Some are referring to this as a transmedia gold rush, and that is in the world of monetization of intellectual property. That is also something that is very much involved in this new economy when we look at video games and other areas of the entertainment biosphere, I guess you could say. Now, the convergence of these industries extends beyond shared resources for shared strategic vision for intellectual property. Both Hollywood studios and video game companies alike now view their IP not as a static product tied to a single medium, but as a fluid asset to be expanded and monetized across a transmedia landscape. The critical and commercial success of television series like HBO's The Last of Us and Amazon Prime's Fallout exemplifies this trend, demonstrating that game adaptations can achieve artistic excellence, drive massive viewership, and reignite interest in the source material. Now, the economic rationale for this strategy is compelling for both sides. For game companies, which face soaring AAA development costs, a film or television adaptation provides a significant new revenue stream and acts as a massive marketing vehicle, introducing their franchises to a broader mainstream audience and potentially driving new players back to the game. Now, for Hollywood, which operates in a risk averse, franchise driven environment, the nearly $200 billion global games industry represents a vast, proven wellspring of established IP with deeply passionate and built in franchises and fan bases. Now, adapting a popular game reduces the marketing risk and costs associated with launching an entirely new, unproven universe. Of course, this strategic alignment is reflected in market forecasts. Deloitte predicts the share of theatrical box office revenue derived from video game IP will double by 2025 by the year's end. Now, this is a clear indicator of a major strategic shift in Hollywood's content development pipeline. The convergence is also happening at a technological level. Real time game engines like Epic Games, Unreal Engine are now indispensable tools in film and TV productions used for creating virtual sets, pre visualization, and final pixel visual effects. Now, this shared technological foundation further blurs the lines between the two industries. This is creating a production efficiency and fostering a common creative language between those two areas. Now, of course, we couldn't talk about video games and the industry without visiting the world of esports and how that's gone from a niche hobby to a global spectacle. It is on the rise in levels that people would never have even considered before. And that, again, is the world of esports and how that's transitioning and impacting the world economy of video gaming and entertainment. Now, esports or competitive video gaming has erupted from a subculture to a global entertainment and economic force. Its significance, however, extends far beyond the prize pools and viewership numbers. For the video game industry, esports represents a sophisticated, self sustaining ecosystem that functions as a powerful marketing and community engagement vehicle, directly fueling the economic success and longevity of the games themselves. Now, when we look at the esports economy, the market size, viewership, and revenue streams, it gets even more interesting. Now, the global esports market is rapidly growing. It's a multi billion-dollar industry. The market size valuations for 2024 range from approximately $1.6 billion to $4.14 billion, with strong growth forecasts projecting that the market could reach between 6.5 billion and 16.7 billion by the early 2030s. Now, this growth, of course, is built upon a large and highly valuable audience. The core asset of the esports economy is a demographic profile. The audience is overwhelmingly young, with over 60% of viewers aged between the ages of 16 and 35 years old. They are affluent, with 43% of enthusiasts in the US reporting an annual household income of $75,000 or higher, and they are deeply engaged, tech savvy consumers who are notoriously difficult to reach through traditional media channels like broadcast television. This profile makes the esports audience a prime target for a wide range of brands that advertisers are seeking to get in connection with this next generation of consumers. Now, the revenue model of esports differs significantly from that of traditional sports. While media rights are a growing component of the ecosystem, it is also overwhelmingly fueled by sponsorships and advertising, which together account for a majority of all revenue. Now, other important revenue streams include media rights deals with streaming platforms, sales of tickets and merchandise, and of course, fees paid by the game publishers to the tournament organizers. We could look at some of these numbers, but again, you can just jump over to our ProPix TV Substack channel, and you can see this script as well as all of the breakdown of numbers and further information if you're interested. But let's move on to the esports flywheel, and that is the powerful engine for game engagement. And of course, that's what it's all about. For game publishers, the direct revenue generated by their esports leagues is often secondary to a more critical strategic goal. Esports functions as a massive, self perpetuating marketing and community retention engine. An esports flywheel, if you will, that drives the long term commercial success of the core video game. It creates narratives, heroes, and a constant stream of high stakes content that keeps the community invested, extending the profitable lifespan of a game far beyond that of a typical entertainment product. This flywheel has two crucial economic functions that are often overlooked. First, it serves as a high stakes research and development laboratory. Professional players push the game to its absolute limits, discovering optimal strategies, game breaking exploits, and subtle balance issues for far faster than the general player base. This provides developers with invaluable real time data to inform patches and updates, effectively using this pro scene as a form of outsourced quality assurance that improves the core product for all players. Second, it is a powerful community retention mechanism. Yes, the narratives and the emotional investment created by following teams and players transforms a disposable product into an enduring hobby. This community's stickiness, as it's referred to, makes players less likely to abandon the game for a competitor, ensuring a stable player base for monetization over many years or even a decade and more, as has happened in the past. Now, let's take a look at a few of the case studies here that illustrate this model in action. Valorant Champions Tour, also known as the VCT, sorry, bear with me a moment. Okay, excuse me for that. Now, Riot Games' VCT, for its tactical shooter Valorant, is a prime example of directly monetizing esports fandom. In 2024, the VCT ecosystem shared about $78.4 million with its 44 partner teams. Critically, over half of that amount, 44.3 million, came directly from revenue generated by player purchases in game digital items such as weapon skins themed around the esports tournament. Now, this creates a direct financial link between fan engagement with the pro scene and revenue for the game. A massive viewership of VCT events, which saw a peak of 9.1 million concurrent viewers for the 2024 champions in Seoul. The finals happened in Seoul, Korea, and the viewership was massive. Now, that also serves as a powerful advertisement, drawing new players into the game itself and encouraging existing ones to spend more. Let's take a look at League of Legends. Now, that World Championship, as one of the world's most watched annual esports events, the League of Legends, or LOL, World Championships, is the centerpiece of Riot Games' flywheel for its flagship title. Recognizing the power of this model, Riot is explicitly shifting its financial partnerships with League of Legends. Now, teams are going to focus more on sharing revenue from in game digital content sales. This is seen as a more scalable and economically resilient model than relying on traditional sponsorships, as it directly leverages the passion of the game's massive global fan base and it helps to fund the esports ecosystem. Now, let's take a look at one more, and that is Counter-Strike. The remarkable longevity of Counter-Strike franchise, which has remained a top-tier esport for over 2 decades, is a testament to the power of its open and vibrant competitive ecosystem. The game has generated an estimated $6.7 billion in lifetime revenues for its developer, Valve. In 2023 alone, Valve earned nearly $1 billion from players opening in-game cases to obtain cosmetic weapon skins. Now, the value and desirability of these digital items are inextricably linked to the culture and hype generated by the professional esports scene. Now, the announcement of the sequel, Counter-Strike 2, caused an immediate and massive surge in player interest and activity in the game item marketplace. Yes, the in-game marketplace is massive, demonstrating how major esports developments can trigger significant economic events within the game's economy. As we look, of course, the old guard is entering the new arena. Traditional sports teams are betting on esports. And whether that's the MLS, the MLB, the NFL, the NHL, the CFL, you name it. And they are just very much interested in becoming a major player in this ecosystem. So let's take a look here at what we are talking about. And that is the fact that in recent years, a significant and growing number of traditional sports franchises and entertainment corporations have made substantial investments in the sports ecosystem. This trend, which includes NHL teams acquiring competitive teams in games entirely unrelated to hockey. It's not a whimsical foray into a new trend, but a calculated strategic maneuver driven by a clear business imperative: the need to engage a new generation of fans, diversify revenue streams, and master the future of the digital marketing. Of course, they are chasing the next generation of fans, as we said, and that is a major player in that economic environment. The primary motivation for this investment is a demographic one. Traditionally, sports leagues are facing a long term challenge in attracting and retaining younger audiences, particularly Gen Z and millennials. Now, they are more increasingly disengaged from the traditional broadcast television in favor of digital native entertainment platforms. With the average age of a fan for sports like Premier League football or Major League Baseball climbing into the 40s and beyond, there is an urgent need to connect with this next generation of consumers. Esports provides a direct and authentic channel for this highly sought after demographic. By investing in an esports team, traditional sports brands can build awareness and loyalty within an audience that might otherwise never be reached by them. Now, beyond audience acquisition, these investments serve two other key financial goals. First, of course, they provide a diversified revenue stream that is not tied to the unpredictable on field performance of the primary sports team, offering a hedge against a poor season and, of course, creating greater financial stability. Second, it enhances the value proposition for corporate sponsors. A sports operation that can offer a bundled sponsorship package, including assets from both its traditional team and its esports franchise, can provide partners with access to a much broader demographic spectrum, from older, established fans, of course, to the younger, digitally native esports community. Now, this makes the sponsorship opportunity more valuable and attractive to a wider array of brands. Now, what is there to do with going beyond that virtual pitch and the logic of non endemic investment? Well, let's take a look at that because that also plays a major role in the new environment of economies. Excuse me. Now, a common misconception is that a sports franchise investment in esports is primarily to promote the video game simulation of its own sport. Again, we said that's not necessarily true. While some teams do engage in this endemic space, such as the Toronto Maple Leafs, the NHL 19 League of the San Jose Sharks signing of a professional NHL 24 team. The more profound strategic play involves investing in non endemic titles that have no connection to their core sport. And the underlying strategy here is pure audience capture and brand extension. The goal is not to persuade a League of Legends fan to start watching hockey, but rather to make the brand of an NHL team like the Florida Panthers relevant and recognizable to the massive global audience that follows League of Legends or Call of Duty. This is an exercise in brand marketing on a global scale. Let's take a look at a couple of case studies here. Now, Paris Saint Germain, or PSG, the French football giant, is a pioneer of this strategy. In 2016, PSG established a dedicated esports division and pursued partnerships with established top tier esports organizations in key international markets. Now, they collaborated with the LGD Gaming in China to field Dota 2 team and with Talon Esports in the Asia Pacific region for League of Legends. This was a deliberate internationalization strategy designed to embed the PSG brand within the dominant youth culture of these regions, growing its global fan base far beyond the confines of the European football market. When you look at another case study here, let's look at the NHL teams, the National Hockey League. And again, several NHL franchises are explicitly looking beyond the virtual ice rink. Executives from the Florida Panthers and Anaheim Ducks have stated their interest in exploring content and competitive programming in genres like Counter-Strike, Rocket League, and Call of Duty with the express purpose of expanding their brand's reach outside the traditional hockey franchise. And I should state that the Vancouver Canucks and sports and entertainment are definitely looking at the different areas as well. Now, this approach transforms the esports team into a low cost, high impact laboratory for modern fan engagement. Traditional sports organizations often struggle with the transition to digital first marketing. Running an esports team forces the parent organization to become proficient in the native languages and the platform of the modern fan. And that's creating content for Twitch and TikTok, managing communities on Discord, leveraging influencer marketing, and selling digital merchandise. These are precisely the skills required to modernize the marketing of their core sports property. The lessons learned in building an engaged community around a Valorant team can be directly applied to engaging the next generation of a hockey fan base. In essence, the esports division can serve as a relatively low cost research and development investment to future proof the entire organization's fan engagement strategy. As we've seen, different entertainment colossals, whether it's Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment or others, with a major valuation increase over the last several years. Of course, this could be another way to increase that major valuation of the overall brand. We are now going to take a look at the new era of fandom and engagement, and that, of course, is essential within the video game industry because it's cemented its position not merely as a segment of the entertainment market, but as a dominant economic and cultural force shaping the 21st century. The analysis presented in this report confirms its status as a global economic superpower with a complex and interconnected ecosystem that drives innovation and generates hundreds of billions of dollars in annual revenue. Its direct economic impact in nations like the United States is profound, creating hundreds of thousands of high paying, high skilled jobs and contributing significantly to the national GDP. The convergence with Hollywood is no longer a nascent trend, but a mature and accelerating economic strategy. Creative clusters are generating powerful, self-reinforcing regional economic booms, while the fluid transmedia monetization of intellectual property has become a core business model for both industries. The synergy is redefining the content pipelines of major studios and providing game companies with the vital new revenue streams to fuel the next generation of interactive experiences. Within this landscape, esports have evolved into a sophisticated economic ecosystem in its own right. More importantly, of course, it functions as an indispensable marketing and community retention flywheel for the industry's most valuable franchises. By creating year-round engagement, fostering deep community bonds, and directly linking fan passion to in-game revenue, esports extends the profitable lifespan of games from months to decades. This has not gone unnoticed by the old guard of entertainment. The strategic investments by traditional sports franchises into esports represent a clear-eyed recognition of this new reality. A calculated bet on capturing the attention of the next generation of fans and low-cost R&D initiative to master the future of digital engagement. Looking forward, the lines between these entertainment verticals continue to blur. The future of mass market entertainment lies in the development of transmedia franchises, interactive storytelling, and of course, community driven monetization models that the video game industry has pioneered. Emerging technologies, particularly artificial intelligence, are set to further revolutionize game development, player analytics, and content creation, promising an even greater level of immersion and personalization. The video game industry is not just shaping how we play, it's building the foundational economies, technologies, and communities of our increasingly digital world. Once again, you've been watching another episode of Live Chat with James here at the studios in Vancouver, British Columbia. This is ProPix TV and ProPix Media, where we are involved in all aspects of entertainment and AI, in addition to many other areas of technology. We always welcome your opinions on the content that we've covered, and of course, we also want to hear your suggestions for topic areas that we can cover in the future. If you have any comments or suggestions, please leave them in the dedicated comment areas, and you can also reach out to us via email at smile, S-M-I-L-E, at propixcanada.com. That's P-R-O-P-I-C-S Canada.com. Once again, thank you for watching ProPix TV. I am James Cousineau in the studios in Vancouver, British Columbia, and we'd like to take a quick moment to thank our sponsor, Carry Movers Limited. If you are moving locally in the Metro Vancouver or Fraser Valley region, you can reach out to Carry Movers. Also, if you are looking for a long distance moving company in Western Canada, by all means, you can also reach out to Carry Movers, and you can find them online at www.carrymovers.com. That's K-A-R-Y movers.com. Family owned and operated for several decades, serving Western Canada with respect, dignity, and of course appreciation for your support of the locally owned and operated business. Take care, everyone, and we will see you tomorrow.